Welcome back to our investigation of the First Ladies of the United States to see if they're men or women. It's kind of sad that we even have to do this, but we do. All right, now in this video, we're going to focus only on one president, Woodrow Wilson, the fascist, because he had three first ladies over the course of 8 years. All right, so we're going to look at his first quote-unquote wife who died while serving as first lady, and then the quote-unquote daughter took over for a while, and then he got remarried. So he had three first ladies, and these people had some children. So we're going to look at the Woodrow Wilson fascist transvestite empire. So first up is Ellen Axon Wilson, the Axe Son. Now in this photo here, you can see the mass, the density, and even the buoyancy, the overall size of this person. That's a large woman. It's a whole lot of Rosie, but it might just be one of these fat drag queens that you see on RuPaul's Drag Race. Looks pretty masculine, if you ask me. Just a lonely transvestite wondering where it all went wrong. Maybe has a little bit of regret and remorse. Was it worth it? Now, it looks like the bra is stuffed there, and there's even something on the front of that shirt, but we're going to see later on this person doesn't really have any breasts. And standing next to Woodrow, who's the more masculine-looking person, right? And almost looks taller than the husband. He does have a bit of a feminine quality to him. So some of you may think he's FTM. Maybe he is. I don't know. I'm not really looking at that right now. Now, the dress appears to have a feminine shape, but we know that they can just change that with hip pads and all that kind of stuff. But if you look closely at that face, there's something not quite right. It's got that large hat on the head, just another way to divert attention away from that masculine face. This is where I start thinking this is a fat drag queen because there are no female breasts. It's a flat chest on a fat man. I cannot discern any female breasts there. And this person, a fat woman like this, would have some breasts. I think this is kind of a fat man. And then this one died while in office, so the daughter took over the role of first lady. And these are the three children, and they're all boys, I believe. In fact, it's pretty obvious, right? So the children are much more obvious and easier to spot. Sometimes you spot it instantly. But I think all these three children, these three daughters, are actually sons. So we're going to look at all three daughters today. So one of the most fascist presidents had a bunch of transvestite children. Margaret Wilson became first lady after the mother's death. And the mother could have been a fat drag queen. So the daughter was the first lady, but it's actually the son. I mean, this is a no-brainer. See how easy this one is? And it's because it's not fat. It's a thin man, right? It's so much, I mean, some of them are just so easy to spot. It just takes a few seconds. There's the president with his three transvestite sons pretending that they're women. The entire country, the entire world thought that this person had three daughters. You still believe in elections? It's just a coincidence that all the women in the White House were transvestites. And there's the other daughter who is actually a son, Jesse. Jesse can be a male name. In fact, I think it's usually a male name, to be honest. Yeah, that's a pretty masculine face you got there. Feminized with hair and clothing and makeup and flowers. Yeah, that's a pretty large face, large skull. This one's pretty obvious. Now, it's a shame because this probably was a handsome young man, right? So this person could have gone on to marry a woman and have children and all that stuff, right? Been a successful businessman. So it almost seems like a waste. Like, why are they doing this? Not a pretty girl, but it could have been a handsome man. It almost looks like that one from Handmaid's Tale, but this one's even more masculine. Oh yeah, see that? I mean, I know men who look like this, right? Little drag queen princess in the White House. Again, a couple of transvestite siblings reading a book. Well-educated transvestites creating the income tax system. Thank you so much for that. In fact, this one looks like a lot of actresses, right? And some of these daughters actually were like singers and actresses and stuff. And there's some kind of wedding. They got the old Addis, the castrated Addis hats on. Looks like a bunch of transvestites to me. And it does look like real men in the back. That's just my opinion. That's what I see. But it also looks like real men in front, too, dressed like women. All right, so here's another daughter, the youngest daughter, who, again, is actually a son. You could have been a son, right? Remember that song? Kurt Cobain. You could have been a son. Well, it was a son. You could have been a son if they would have taken off the dress, but they didn't. They forgot to remove the dress. These people are unbreeched. Head covering. Now this one has the neck exposed. Nothing like seeing a man in a wedding dress in the White House. They had a lot of these weddings at the White House. And this would have been like a big deal at the time. Look at that hand. And again, pointing down like that. That's a man hand. No breasts. Almost looks like it has a hairy chest. See that? Look at how thin the body is. This one has very low body fat. That's a lean, kind of normal-looking man, really. It's just wearing a dress. That's the strange thing about this one. That's why it looks different. Yeah, that ain't no beauty queen, that's for sure. And see, if these people are like the elite and they're supposed to be, they're supposed to have superior bloodlines, why are all the women so ugly, right? The wealthy people marry other wealthy people from wealthy bloodlines. You'd think all these women would be quite beautiful, right? Well, it's like, no, these are like some of the ugliest women you've ever seen. Why? It's because they're men. Now, this is the third first lady of Wilson's fascist regime, and he got remarried. So now this one became first lady, first drag queen, and I think this is just kind of a wide-faced, pudgy man again. And this one, actually, now what happened is President Wilson had a stroke, and he was kind of incapacitated, kind of like Joe Biden, but he was incapacitated for like the last year of his presidency, and some people think this one actually kind of took over. Yeah, so this transvestite, may have actually kind of secretly been acting president. There is the first lady, the first drag queen, helping Woodrow Wilson, sign some executive order to take away people's freedom. Nothing really changes. I think we need to bring back the top hat, by the way. That one's got a small little neck covering there, right? A little collar. It's kind of a pretty strong-looking woman. That jaw is pretty wide, actually, if you think about it. And, is that an older lady? We've seen this a few times with these first ladies. When they get older, are they older, kind of less feminine-looking women, or are they older drag queens? I'm open to the idea that there have been exceptions. There's always exceptions to everything, right? But I'm not quite convinced we saw any real women today. As far as I can tell, every single first lady has been a man. But we saw how the elite are raised as they raise their boys as little girls to start out with anyway. And we saw that the three daughters of Wilson were pretty obvious. So it just seems to be the way these people roll. And, we do kind of understand why. It's part of alchemy and the mystery traditions. Balancing the polar opposites opens up the portals to the spirit world. And these people are in power, right? So they get a lot more power when they invite in the principalities and powers. The real rulers of this world are the fallen angels, right? It's all very biblical. God has his people, but the fallen angels also have their people. And the children were also inverted, so it does make you wonder, where do the children come from? Who's giving birth to these children? How does that all work? The simplest explanation would simply be surrogates, kind of like they do today. I just saw one of the Kardashians had a surrogate baby. Of course, the headline was, one of these Kardashians just had a baby. And then if you read the fine print, it's like, through surrogate. So, they just using surrogates is the easiest explanation. Maybe the transvestite was the father. Maybe the transvestite impregnated the surrogate, or it was an IVF thing, and then they put it in a surrogate. But the sperm could be coming from the transvestite. And same with these first ladies, right? So and that would make a lot of sense because they're the ones who are connected into the spirit world. The demonic babies through their demonic sperm. And keep in mind there may be some photographic trickery going on. And I did notice some in previous videos. Are these photos really of the people they claim to be? Could there be dual roles? And I did notice the first and last wife of Wilson, they do kind of look similar. Is it possible that's even the same person? I'm not sure. I'm not really focused on that right now. And one of my subscribers even mentioned to me maybe a photograph of the son could possibly be a photograph of the father when he was younger. So of course there's many possibilities with these people. A little bit difficult for me to prove right now. That's not my main focus, but at least I think we can see that these women are men. It's not that hard to spot for me and hopefully for other people as well. Think for yourself. If you're new to this topic, take your time. Don't just believe what I say. Investigate further for yourself, because the truth sounds a little strange when you live in a world full of lies, and the truth is unfortunately stranger than fiction, and there's certainly a lot of fiction in our reality. In fact, most of what we believe to be real is actually fiction, and they do this intentionally. That's how they control the masses. They give us these narratives. They lie to us about certain things, and we discover certain lies, but there's always more lies. So they're lying to us about the sex of the people in the photographs. They could be lying to us about other things as well. Just something to keep in mind. And of course, some of these men I'm showing could actually be female to male. I'm just not really focused on that. That's kind of a different mindset I have to get into. And it takes a long time, and it usually leaves me not fully convinced either way, and it's kind of frustrating for me to do that process. It would make the videos twice as long. Maybe somebody else wants to take a look at all the presidents someday. Please go ahead and do that. Don't let me stop you. But Satan's been kicked out of heaven. He's on earth now, deceiving us as much as possible before the end, trying to drag as many of us down with him into the lake of fire and sulfur and brimstone. So if you want to join him, you know where to go. If you want to join him in the lake of fire, just roll up your sleeve and go to Walgreens. All right, that's it for today, and see you next time.